Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Generation Y. Before the break, we were discussing the Oxford Centre of Islamic Studies and we were discussing the impact that the centre has had on the community around it.
Yeah, it's had a very big impact on Oxford, and a lot of students we met who study at the Islamic Centre as well, and hopefully we should see a lot more students study there in the future.
Yeah, and as well as the centre having a huge impact on the place, another place that's had a huge impact on Oxford is Blenheim Palace.
Yeah, Blenheim Palace, which was built in the 18th century, and since become a tourist attraction. We were lucky that we had a sunny day as well, so we got to see a lot of families, use the gardens, facilities, use the boats, and also actually come and visit inside the palace. Yeah.
It's quite interesting where it actually came from because there was a battle called the Battle of Blenheim, which, what was his name? John Churchill. John Churchill fought the battle and he managed to win the battle.
Mm-hmm.
So he was given this palace as a prize, along with £240,000 prize money, which was a lot of money at the time. So he had a lot to do with it. So obviously he maintained the palace. His son was also born there, Winston Churchill, who we know quite well, who we learn about in school.
And it's not only Blenheim Palace that the only tourist attraction there, but also the column tower, which was built in the northern part of the park and stands 134 feet tall. And yeah.
Yeah, so it's quite a bit just inside the palace. You go inside the palace, you go inside the gates, you buy a ticket, and then they give you a tour around the palace, take you to the actual palace itself, take you inside, what are the features of the palace, why is it so like people of high level living here, what makes it so amazing, as well as the size obviously inside, and then to take you to the column tower as well, the story behind the tower, and there's a lot more to it as well. There's the gardens, the river where people can go on their boats, go on trips, and it's also like a family destination, a family place to go, take your family, have a nice little picnic there with your friends, a nice little day out like it was for us.
And it's also they've started using it as for events as well, like we saw a wedding taking place there as well. So obviously as it being a tourist attraction, a lot of people use it as an event facility as well, weddings, conferences. We saw a lot of school children as well on school trips. Just come visit the palace as part of the history lesson.
Yeah, I mean we had quite a packed 3 days inside London, didn't we? We went to Blenheim Palace.
Mini plant. Islamic Centre of Islamic Studies.
The Centre of Islamic Studies.
And Blenheim Palace.
Yeah, and Blenheim Palace. So all four places are really they're really up there, aren't they? They're quite really popular. They're well known, especially all places in fact are incredibly well known. They were really they lived up to the hype, didn't they?
Yeah, it's really quite interesting as well, because everyone knows London, but Oxford is obviously a city in London which a lot of people don't really know about, and when you go into cities like Oxford, you get to know more about the insights, the history, the different buildings, tourist attractions, and it's really quite interesting, and you want to come back and learn more about it.
Yeah, I'd say, what would be like one thing that stands out for you? The one thing, if you had to pick one, which one was it and why?
I would say that's actually Islamic Centre of Islamic Studies, because it felt like you were in a different country, as you mentioned before. The water fountains, the way it's built, just every little detail, which it made you feel like you were in a different country.
Yeah, I was personally quite interested by the university, how different it was from other universities. Like when you go in there, it doesn't feel like you're living in the 21st century. It's almost like, oh, you've got the technology, you've got everything you need to study, but it's like you step into a different environment. It's a whole new place where you're about to study. And that's what I really like about it, and it's like loads of different cultures as well. It's not just people from Oxford, like we discussed before. It's people from all over the world coming to study at Oxford University.
I think something we both found interesting as well is the way people dress there and the way people talk to us as well. Compared to Bradford, the way people dress here and the way people dress there was was really old-fashioned and really interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of like a learning experience for us as well.
Yeah.
We're students, we're young, and we haven't been out quite a bit, but going to London, going to Oxford, shall I say, and seeing the place, it was quite a good experience for us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Seeing the different environment, the different places, and the history.
Yeah, and us being 17 years old as well, we have to obviously apply for uni, and obviously Oxford gives us an insight on what uni is like. what students are like, what accommodations are like. And I think that will help us through our application in the upcoming months.
Yeah, and because Oxford is such a high-ranked university as well, going to these Russell Group universities and looking at what makes them different will definitely push our interest in getting into the universities. So students from our areas, local areas, we need to get our students into these places to look at the universities, what makes Russell Group University so good, and why should you really pursue yourself to get into one of these universities.
And it also tells students that are applying for uni or are planning to go to uni that it's not going to a uni maybe away from home is not only about the actual uni itself. You know, there's a lot to do. Like people from Oxford go to Oxford Uni, but like they go to all these on the weekends. They spend their time at Blenheim Palace, maybe. You know, boat rides. We met some students that are going on boat rides. You know, visiting the Islamic Centre of Studies. So it's not only about the uni itself. There's a lot of stuff to do outside of uni times on the weekends as well.
Yeah, and that's important. Like the 4 years that you go to university, or 5 years, depends on what course you're doing. It's important that you get the full experience, that you go to uni. It's not just about the study, it's also about that. It's about that, that jump that you make from being a dependent to becoming independent, trying to grow and develop as a person, as yourself. And obviously, if you don't go to, it's good to stay at home as well, but if you don't go to a place where you're pushed to do that, where you're pushed to see different things, it becomes kind of difficult to make that jump from becoming a young person into an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. It can be very difficult, especially when you get to like 17, 18 our age and we're applying for uni applications, writing up personal statements. It can be very hard if you haven't had the experience or, you know, seen anything like it before. Yeah,
how do you think we can, something that we could do ourselves for the community, for the younger generation, because these Russell Group universities, they don't just look at your A-levels, they look at your GCSEs as well. Like, we're 17, 18, we've been through the GCSEs and we know what it's like. How do you think we could like have an impact on the younger generation, try to push them to do as well as they can in their GCSEs?
You know, maybe weekly workshops or people coming in, students coming in from universities, from different universities, telling about their experiences, so you know people actually know what it's like maybe going to you know, Oxford Uni compared to Manchester, compared to Manchester Uni, because there is big differences.
Yeah, and the problem in our generation, what I feel is, it's not the fact that we're not bright and we're not talented, it's the lack of motivation we have to get into these amazing universities. Most people I know are really smart and they're capable of getting really good grades, but that never happens. And it doesn't happen because they're not smart enough, it's because they lack the motivation to go out there and study. And obviously if we talk about these Russell Group universities, these Oxford, your Cambridge, these really big universities, and we talk about the effect that can have, like getting a degree from Oxford, you can almost get a job anywhere, wherever you want to go, you'll be able to get a job. If people know that, if we educate people on that, it'll definitely push people to get better grades and to get into the universities.
Yeah, and they should definitely be educated from a very young age as well, not only our age now, but they should start young, like they always say, should start young, because you know, if it all starts young, then as you get older, then you know what it's going to be like when going to uni, when going to secondary school. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's time for us to show you a few clips from Blenheim Palace and the Oxford Centre of Islamic Studies.
This beautiful building blends the architectural features of the traditional Oxford colleges with the forms and styles of the classical period of Islam. The result is a unique symbol of the harmony between two ancient traditions of scholarship brought together for the pursuit of knowledge.
It will provide a focal point for international collaboration and will accommodate those academic, social and residential facilities essential for the collegiate life of a community of scholars. The Oxford Centre of Islamic Studies is a recognised independent centre of the University of Oxford. We are here inside the Oxford Centre of Islamic Studies, which was established in 1985 to encourage Islamic studies and scholarly.
The centre also provides a meeting point for Western and Islamic culture and has been globally attracted. It has now become used to students all around the world and also become a tourist attraction. So we're going to go in and take a look around at the different features. Whilst entering the centre, we were greeted by the largest cabinet in Europe, which holds the holy cloth from the Kaaba, which was donated by Saudi Arabia and weighs 80 kilos. The cloth embroidered with verses from the Quran, woven of silk and cotton, dyed black and embroidered in gold thread. The cloth is changed each year in Mecca and the old one is cut up and given to pilgrims.
On the wall there is Islamic calligraphy cut out of wood and framed for visitors to see whilst entering the building. We were given a guided tour by Gordon Brown, who is a member of the Islamic Centre. During the tour we were shown different parts of the building, including the outside courtyard and the inside praying facilities.
Currently stood inside the prayer room, which is located inside the Islamic Centre of Islamic Studies in Oxford.
Yeah, a lot of money was invested in the centre, and a lot of it was spent in the prayer room. You can see that by looking at the design. The prayer room has a lot of features, including wooden Arabic calligraphy around the walls, and has shelves in each corner containing the Holy Quran in several languages, as the centre is used by a diverse community. Located at the back of the prayer room, there is a balcony for visitors to observe people pray, as the centre is designed for research purposes.
While standing in the prayer room, you can see the walls are covered in marble tiles, and where the Imam leads the prayers is also covered in Arabic calligraphy. Looking above, you can see the dome is covered with painted glass. From the outside, the dome is designed to fit into the Oxford culture, blending into the Oxford skyline. The centre provides a meeting point for the Western and Islamic worlds of learning. At Oxford, it contributes to the multidisciplinary and cross-disciplinary study of Islamic world. Beyond Oxford, its role is strengthened by a developing international network of academic contacts. The work of the centre has attracted global attention and widespread support. Different parts of the centre is named after several different countries. For example, the courtyard is named after Istanbul Mosque. The inside prayer area is named after Sheikh Zayed Mosque in Abu Dhabi.
The Prince of Wales is the patron of the centre, and it is governed by a board of trustees consisting of scholars and statesmen from different parts of the world, alongside representatives of the Oxford University.
Our journey from the Oxford Centre of Islamic Studies took us to Blenheim Palace, located outside of Woodstock.
We're here at Blenheim Palace, birthplace of Winston Churchill, located just outside Oxford in Woodstock.
The palace was made in 1722 and since become one of the main attractions in Oxford. We're going to go take a look at the different surroundings and the gardens.
What makes the palace so special? Why is there so many people here? Let's find out. The palace was built in the early 18th century as a gift for John Churchill for winning the Battle of Blenheim. It was also given £240,000 prize money, and the palace was opened for the first time for the public in 1950.
It has now become a monument country house and one of the world's largest houses. As you can see, it's a very unique palace and has a combined use of a museum, family house and tourist attraction.
It's also the only non-royal place in the whole of the UK to be given the title palace.
It's surrounded by more than 2,000 acres of land and has one of the longest library containing over 10,000 books.
The palace has attracted worldwide attention, so people all over the world come to see this palace. The column of victory was built in 1727 and was built in the northern part of Parkside and stands at 134 feet high. It is crowned by a lead statue of the first Duke of Marlborough, which depicts him dressed as a Roman general. The Grand Bridge was built in 1708 to link it with sides of the valley connecting it to the palace. It meant levelling the hill of which ruins of Woodstock Manor stood and using some of the masonry as rubble filling for the bridge.
In 1764, Capability Brown was brought in by the 4th Duke to remodel the gardens and the park. Brown landscaped the park to create interesting and changing views around a new lake. Brown wanted to make a perfectly natural landscape, but he did leave the 2 avenues of trees. He planted trees in clumps, apparently randomly, but in fact they were planted so that the view of the lake would alter as people move around the lake on horseback or in carriage.
So viewers, I hope you enjoyed the clip. As you can see, it was an amazing time that we had inside Oxford. We visited Blenheim Palace and the Oxford Centre of Islamic Studies, and like we were talking about before, I'm sure you got insight of what we were trying to say.
Yeah, very unique. The buildings, very interesting. It was very old-fashioned, as we've been mentioning.
Yeah, the city is obviously, like we were saying before, it's really different for people like us to come from a place like Bradford to Oxford, but it's really good as well because it creates that different perspective. You see from a different angle what's life like in Oxford, and that really, it does help a person grow, and it can be a vital skill in life, being able to see from different perspectives.
Yeah, I think all students should at least visit a few universities, and hopefully, inshallah, we are able to visit some more in the future and get inside other universities as well.
So viewers, I think that's all me and Tala have got time for you today. We'll be back with you next week from Sunday 4:30 to 5:30. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.